Good morning, Janice.
Good morning, Anthony.
Today we'll talk about the MTA COVID death benefit and beneficiaries. So we're getting a couple of calls here and there on this issue, and the question is, does the MTA COVID death benefit, which we've talked about before, does it have beneficiaries, and if not, who should be inheriting? For anyone who doesn't know, again, we'll have a link to that prior episode. The MTA is paying pretty generous amount, in my opinion, $500,000 to the estate of any employee who passed away with or from COVID. It's unclear what. They seem to be tightening that up a little bit, but we'll see.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so the first question is, have your COVID death benefits been paid to the wrong person? Because we're getting that call a lot. And Janice, we've worked on a couple of these cases, so I think you can attest probably more than I can that although well-intentioned and hardworking, the folks who are running this program at MTA, I don't think they're really experienced with estate issues. Are you getting that feeling?
I do. I think they're also maybe overwhelmed because this is such a new thing, right? That they probably woke up one morning, went to work, and they said, "Here, you're now in this new department with this new." Yeah. So you are running into that.
And I think because of the amount of money involved, again, $500,000, you're getting some very the energy they're probably getting from these heirs is probably different from an energy of I need my last paycheck cut to my dad's last paycheck. It's I need my dad's $500,000. I think.
Yeah, I need it right now.
Yeah,
right.
yeah. So they're probably dealing with quite a bit. You're right.
Yeah, and I've noticed that when I don't call and yell and I speak to them kindly, I get so much further, right? Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to just share a couple of recent examples we've gotten. So to give you a sense of what's sort of going on out there, this is for anyone else any families out there who are maybe experiencing similar issues or want to know how to deal with their particular situation. Okay, so Mr. S, he called us because he was very confused because the MTA told him that the benefit, his sons who passed away, the benefit would be paid to Mr. S. But and he was like, "Oh, why would I be named? Why would I receive this? My son was married and had children. Shouldn't they receive it?" And the MTA said, "No, because you are named as the beneficiary on your son's pension, the MTA COVID benefit will go to you too." And I guess the son basically never updated his beneficiary designations when he got married, which we see all the time, and which is why we don't recommend using beneficiary designations. So Mr. S was like, "That doesn't sound right," and that's why he called us. Okay, and I'll get into that in a second. So second example is Mrs. B, and the MTA paid the full amount, the full $500,000 or $500,000 to Mrs. B, but her husband, the decedent, he died with no will and had kids from a prior marriage. So when you die with no will, your estate is supposed to go roughly half to the spouse, half divided amongst the kids, not all to the spouse.
Correct.
So the question is, should those kids from a prior marriage, should they be getting some of that money? And that they're actually the ones who called us, not Mrs. B, saying, "Hey, our dad passed away, and his sort of second wife got all the money, but shouldn't we have gotten something?" So those are the questions that we are getting.
Yep.
Okay. So let's go back to Mr. S's situation. Does the MTA COVID death benefit have named beneficiaries? While it's possible, I think it's highly unlikely. This program was like an emergency benefit that came into existence. It's like asking, did 9/11? I hope this isn't insensitive, but did 9/11 victims name beneficiaries for it? It's not like that. This is an emergency sort of payout.
Yeah. After the fact of when it happens. Right.
I mean, I guess there's somebody who could have been hired during since in the past 2 years, who signed up and signed something and named it, and then subsequently died. I guess that's possible. It's been 2 years, but it seems less likely that that's happened. Okay.
Right. Like you said, it was an emergency thing after the fact when people started passing. Yeah.
And again, my understanding is that this is an automatic benefit. It's not something that's part of an onboarding package or part of the HR package when you get hired, where you name your. That's not my understanding. So that's why I don't think this is likely. And if that's not the case, if let's say Mr. S's son did not name a beneficiary on his COVID death benefit application form, which again I can't think of why that would exist.
Right.
It's highly unlikely that the fact that Mr. S was named as beneficiary on the pension carries over to the COVID death benefit. I can't think of any other scenario where being named as beneficiary on one policy transfers or carries over automatically to another. It's like saying,
No.
hey, I named my wife as beneficiary on my life insurance, so she should get this brokerage account, my IRA too. Like, it doesn't work that way.
No. And that was one of the biggest questions that I had when you had said that they were calling in. And you can't really, just because you're a beneficiary one, you can't transfer that. No.
Yeah. So, we have confirmed with Mr. S that there was a mistake, or let's call it a miscommunication between he and the MTA, and that's getting worked out. But you need to speak up, and you need somebody to maybe advocate for you and make sure that these are being handled properly. And we'll talk about the next example here. Okay, so who is supposed to inherit the MTA COVID death benefit, especially if there's no beneficiary, as we just went over? So again, in the absence of a beneficiary designation, death benefits should get paid according to the will, or if there is no will, according to default inheritance law called intestacy.
Yes.
And this is consistent with what our experience has been with the MTA, that they are requiring proof of a court-appointed executor or administrator before they pay anything to anyone. They're not just sending out checks willy-nilly. So,
no. We had to show a lot of documentation first.
So in our experience, the MTA seems to be handling it properly. There might just be a lot of miscommunication with some of these excited heirs. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
Not excited. I'm not trying to say that.
No. Excited
about the benefit, at least. Yeah.
Right. If it's something you didn't even know existed and you just found out, you might be a little bit like, okay,
So if in Mrs. B's example, if she, as the spouse, received the funds and has not paid it to the kids, we haven't gone through all the way with this case yet, so this is very speculative. But it's probably one of these three situations. Either there is a will that the kids didn't know about and they were disinherited. Sorry. I mean, that happens. Yeah.
It does. Yes.
So check the probate file to see if that's what happened. Number two, maybe the spouse received the check not as the wife. So they were saying, oh, the MTA paid it out to her because she's the wife. Well, we don't know that, right? Perhaps the MTA paid it out to her because she's a court-appointed executor or administrator. And as you and I know, probate takes a while. Even once that check comes in, you have to settle debts, you have to take care of final taxes. Correct. It's not like she immediately turns around and cuts checks to the other heirs.
No,
right?
no.
Yeah. So you might be in this sort of waiting period. Maybe she hasn't done a great job of communicating what's going on. That's fine. That happens. But at least, it's in process. And then the last scenario is that there was a mistake somewhere, that the MTA did, in fact, incorrectly pay a check directly to her, even though she's not the executor. I find that unlikely. They seem to have the pretty good procedure, right?
Yeah.
Or the spouse, Mrs. B, did receive the check in her capacity as an executor and is just running off with the money, and without doing her duty and paying the proper heirs.
Right.
That does happen too. Hopefully she was bonded, or hopefully you should probably look into that sooner than later, because it is hard to reverse if there's no bond.
Yes, very.
So that's it. These are a couple of situations we're hearing about. Janice, you asked me a great question before we started this, whether or not the MTA, this program still exists, because there's that's a lot of money per claim, $500,000. Like, does the money run out at some point?
Yeah. Does it run? I know it originally, so we've been talking about this now 2 years when it started. And I know that originally they said, well, we'll keep doing it until the money runs out. I don't know if you remember that. They said that. So when is that? Which again, we've talked about this. Don't wait if you think that they might have a benefit. It might be something.
They're definitely tightening up the qualifications too. Like the first ones we did, it was like, okay, like it looks like you had COVID, great. But later on, it was more like, okay, we need some. It can't just say COVID's anywhere in the death certificate. We're going to need some medical records.
Yes. Yep. It had to be like number 1 on there, not as a number 3. And I remember, which I was kind of surprised that they said that they might have just given a check, because we had to go through departments. You start with one that goes to a second department, to a third department, and everyone has to check all of the balance.
There were like committees and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, there was. They're like, we have to vote and we have to write back. So it was not a quick, oh, good, here's your check at all. Yeah.
But if you have any doubts or questions about your family's eligibility or what rights you have, let us know. We've done a few of these, and
Yeah.
we're developing relationships in the MTA. We can get this done for you. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And in general, Anthony's book, How Probate Works, available on Amazon, it will help you to see, like you were talking about, where things go with a will, without a will, and how this has to, because you got to open probate and give him that letter.
Yeah. Very good. Wow, we talked more about this than I expected for such a specific situation, but we're getting a lot of these, and they're very important to these folks who are,
Yes.
who have lost a loved one. Yeah.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for listening as always, and thank you, Janice, for joining us. And we'll talk soon next time.
Talk soon.
Bye now.